We're ready.
Thank you. July 27th, 2021 meeting of the Richmond Sanitary District Board of Commissioners is called to order. The first item of business is approval of minutes from the July 13th of 2021.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
motion for approval of minutes from July 13th, 2021 as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the July 13th, 2021 meeting. Is there any further questions or comments? If not, Jess, will you call the roll?
Amon,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. The next item of business is approval of invoices from check dates July 9th and 16th of 2021.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Steens?
I'll make a motion to approve invoices for check date run July 9th and 16th of 2021, totaling $236,321.02. There were a few significant invoices. First from Barrett Paving Materials for $10,087.77. Two payments of $68,735.01 and $68,735. And one payment to Rackney for $16,430.46.
I second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve invoices from check dates July 9th and 16th of 2021, totaling $236,321.02. Is there any further questions or comments? Hearing none, Jess, will you call the roll?
Amon,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
The next item is Mrs.
Yes, Madam President. I don't have a whole lot. I do have in front of you the June report, the monthly report. There are no real items of note in there, unless there are questions. I will say that, we started extending our special pickup kind of partially through last month. But I'm hoping that we see that data in the collections part on special pickup. I'm hoping we see that reflected there in the coming months to see people using that service more. And that's used for anything you can't get. I don't say anything. It's used for if you can't get something in Rosie and there's qualifiers, we can find those on our website for items that we pick up for free at no cost to the customer. So I am looking forward to seeing that grow. I don't have anything else really to discuss on the June report, noteworthy. I do also want to say that the past 2 Saturdays where our extended scale house hours at landfill, and things went well there. And I want to thank our crew for making it go so well. I was out there the first Saturday, and the rain kind of dampened it a little bit in the morning, but after that, we had quite a few people show up and using our services there. And again, that's another thing we've been putting out is just to remind the public that again, if you can't get it into your Rosie roller and you can't use special pickup or for timely reasons you want, you can always drive your stuff out to the landfill. It's an easy procedure there to drop off at bins right there by the scale house. And the last thing is the thing I talk about every board meeting, just a reminder that we are trying to do this curbside cardboard recycling. If you're interested, there's a survey on the website that you need to take to get your name in the hat for getting one of the first 2,000 containers that we're going to get in the first wave of this grant. So that's all I have unless there are questions.
I have a question.
Okay,
Pat,
go ahead, Greg.
since we're on Pat Media here, what would be the phone number that people would call for special pickup?
Is it the 765-983-7450?
Option number 3.
Option 3. That's the piece.
Okay, and then on the
Thanks. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. On the Rosie rollers, those numbers, we're gonna print those on the Rosie rollers themselves. So if they look on the Rosie roller, that phone number is also on the Rosie roller
Yes, our numbers.
for special pickup. So if you look on the Rosie roller,
Correct. If you look on Rosie Roller, it'll have our main number there. I don't know if it says option 3 on the Rosie Rollers,
It does
but
not.
it is option 3 if you dial that number, and or the website. You can schedule it if you call the number. The website lets you see what we do accept. It's mostly bulky or household items, brush at certain sizes is for that. But again, it's free to users, so if you have items that you can't get in there, it's a great service to use.
Thanks, Pat, for bringing that up, and Greg for your comments, because as I went through the report, that was one of the things I continually noticed is the, the numbers that we have in the, sort of the code enforcement area. And I'm sure that when people call, they're not going into that bucket. But I'm sort of an urban walker, and a group of friends and I walk everywhere around town, and sometimes even through alleys and such. And one of the other walkers commented that something to the effect of the cost of trash pickup. And I said, no, there's no cost. If you live in town, there is no cost either to use a Rosie Roller or to call for that special pickup. And so I think there may be confusion on that, but we certainly need to let people know that there really isn't any reason just to throw the trash out on into the alleyway or by the railroad tracks or wherever. Yeah.
But and correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, but I think if you live in town, there is no cost to bring it out to the landfill.
Yeah, if you are a sanitary district customer, there's no cost for special pickup or to bring out the typical things at the landfill. Obviously, if you're bringing tires, there's that $5 per tire charge. Or if you bring construction waste, but regular solid waste, so household waste, household hazardous waste, bulky items, brush, yard waste, there's no charge for any of those items at the landfill through special pickup or your Rosie. It's just covered as the one fee, so it's all included.
One more thing, Pat, when we start doing the cardboard recycling, will people be able to bring cardboard out there, or is that just for a special pickup? With the Rosie Rollers.
So once we started, there's currently a drop off for cardboard and other recyclables at the landfill. That will stay in place. This program will allow you to have a bin for us to collect with like an automated trash truck. We will collect the cardboard in a bin as well, so it'll be curbside for anybody who wants to. And there are sizes for that in the survey. Cardboard will have to be broken down to go into these containers. So if you have like a really large piece of cardboard or something like that, or that you can't break down easily, or you just got too much, again, the landfill, there's a big container there that you can take it out to. You have to be there.
And what recyclables do we take currently at the landfill? What type of plastics?
1 and 2.
Glass. Do we accept glass?
We do accept glass. No, we currently send that off to be recycled. We don't recycle them. So we collect glass. There's newsprint, mixed papers, the 1 and 2 plastic and cardboard, aluminum cans.
So the person that is in the utility building, you ever tell them where to go to deposit these materials once they get there?
Correct, and the mayor did a how-to video at the landfill recently, and it's put out, but it is directly, so it's kind of for a first-time user to the landfill. But when you come in, there's a scale house, and if you pull up there, Tyler Stroh is our representative there most of the time, and he will direct you, and it's literally right behind that, there's like 3, I don't want to say alleys, but little drives, and like one is pretty much all the recycling, and there's kind of the yard waste, and then there's kind of the household waste there. And there's a little area especially marked out for household hazardous waste as well. But he will guide you. There's some signage on most of those bins that will tell you what to put in them. So.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you. And we look forward to the kicking off. Now, basically at this point in time, we need to wait until we get the truck as well as the containers for the cardboard, which I would assume later this fall.
Correct. We're still hoping that we can have this program running somewhere around November. We awarded the truck at the last meeting. And once that contract goes through, we cut a PO. I think it had like a 30 or 60 day time on the truck. So we're fairly close within that. We've already got a PO and a contract for we already had a contract with Pyramid Equipment for the for the bins, for the containers, but we did cut a PO to get those. So we're gonna start ordering those 2,000 cans as well, and distributing those. But the goal is November sometime, we'll be ready to start running rounds. Now, we do have a really short 30-second PSA ad that's getting ready to come out, and I just kind of give information about the survey and breaking it down and stuff like that. But then we've purchased 2 other longer public education videos that will go out. We're working with Luann Haliva, the education coordinator, and with Eric Marsh from WCTV, I think, and rolling these out. So you get kind of a short one here really, really soon, probably in a month, kind of a how to get signed up, and then we'll get really long ones as we get closer to rolling out routes to kind of really get people aware of when to put it out, how to break it down, a lot more details.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments about anything else in Pat's report? Okay. The next item of business is the recommendation to enter into an agreement for sewer use with the town of Boston.
Yes, Madam President. Pat, you want me to take this one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Madam President, Board, we, as you know, we treat the wastewater from the town of Boston. About 25 years ago, a sewer collection system and lift station and force main was installed that pumps their waste to our Short Creek interceptor. And so at the end of last year, that agreement expired. And we had previously started negotiations with the town to come to a new agreement with updated language and pricing. So we have finally done that. The agreement in front of you goes through the end of 2026, and it currently ties the rate that they would pay to the unmetered customer rate that we have already on file, I guess, or approved. So if that rate were to change from year to year, their rate would also change. So that's a major difference, I guess, between the old agreement and the new agreement, is that it updates that and is kind of real time in that they'll pay that current rate, and we don't have to come back and amend the agreement to change that every so often. So the other thing that we'll be doing is taking over maintenance of collection system and the lift station, but we'll only do that after an inspection is completed and to make sure that everything is in good working order before we take that over and assume that that responsibility. So so it's our recommendation. Pat and I and AJ have been working on this, and so it's our recommendation to approve this new agreement with the town of Boston.
Are there any other questions or comments?
I don't see a contract number on it.
No, there is we have one, but we didn't get it until later. I can give it to you here just a second. It is 99-2021. So we'll get that put on there and ready for signatures.
Is there a motion?
President Miller?
Yes, Mr. Boxey?
Motion for recommendation to enter into agreement for sewer use with the town of Boston as presented.
Second.
Thank you. There's a motion and a second to enter into a sewer use agreement with Boston, Indiana as presented. Any further questions or comments? Yes, I noted in here the fact that we're not taking on the billing responsibility, or we never have, I assume, had the billing responsibility for Boston. It becomes incumbent upon them. And I assume that if there's any additional housing in that vicinity that would be needed to tap in, that we would have to go through the normal procedures for a tap in, and then they would be added to the Boston count.
Correct, yeah. Similar to what we've done in the past, we've still issued tap permits because it ultimately is connected to our system. They're still going to maintain ownership of all of the infrastructure that they put in. We just be taking over maintenance responsibilities. And yes, we would just bill the town of Boston. The town of Boston would then pay us directly and collect from the users there in the town of Boston, and then they'd be responsible for collections and things like that of those particular users as well. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, Jess, will you call the roll?
Amon,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you. The next item of business is a recommendation to enter into a contract for advanced planning related to the wastewater treatment plant disc filtration project.
Yes, Madam President and Board, this is a early planning document for our high rate treatment facility, as well as upgrades to the filtration at our tertiary building. As you know, here in several years, we will be constructing a high rate treatment facility for our CSO long-term control plan. But tied into that we've kind of been researching, I guess, technology for a while now. And from what we know right now, we anticipate going with disc filters, or these are big round discs that have a cloth on the outside of them, and basically the wastewater is filtered from depending on which ones, from the inside to the outside or outside inside, and then the cloth is cleaned every so often. We're also looking at this technology for our tertiary building. As you know, some of the sand filter cells have had some failures in them. I guess the platform that the sand sits on has started to pull away from the concrete structure, and so it makes sense for us to use the same technology for everything, or at least that's what we want to. That's what we think right now. We want to kind of prove that and look at what it would take to retrofit our building for this type of technology. So what this does is it starts looking at our tertiary building and high rate treatment, and looks at this disc filtration technology, starts putting some costs together, put some preliminary planning on paper, so we know how we're going to move forward, I guess, as we get into further design of high rate treatment and upgrades to the tertiary facility. So it's our recommendation to award a contract with Donahue Associates for this work. It is hourly for a total not to exceed price of $47,100. And we'd worked with Donahue here on our treatment plant project, and had some conversations about this. I think they've got a good handle on what's going on at our treatment plant, as well as the requirements of our long-term control plan. They've also got experience with this technology, getting it approved through IDEM, as well as using it in some other municipalities So they've got good experience on that. So we, based on our experience with them and their experience with the technology, we felt like it made sense to get proposals from them for this work.
So Elijah, are you suggesting that, that this might allow, when we get to the high rate or those 100-year floods or whatever, that it would allow just bypassing early steps of our normal treatment and going through this, or would we have a separate facility that would have these cloth filtered discs?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's different ways of doing this. We definitely can't get all of the flow through the treatment plant. So at the very least, a portion of it would be kind of split off at our headworks and go through the high rate treatment facility, which is likely going to go down we can make it work down by our tertiary treatment facility. Because if we retrofit our tertiary building with these disc filters, we will have more than needed capacity just for our normal flow. So the hope is that we can utilize some of the infrastructure both for normal flow and for high rate treatment or CSO flow. But we'll likely have to expand the building as well. So, but then there's different talk as far as, do you blend it back together? I mean, there's different permitting and regulatory pros and cons to doing each kind of method, as far as do you bring the flow back together and before you discharge it or not? And so there's a lot to think about when it comes to what makes sense there. And there's risks in both, both ways, I guess. If you decide to commingle and have one discharge point, from a regulatory standpoint, it may be more stringent. You have to make sure you meet certain guidelines that might be tougher than if you didn't do that. But then there's some benefits too. So those are all things that we'll work through as we move through the process.
And what's our target for completing the high rate component of the long-term control plan?
It is 2028, I believe, is the last date. It's there at the end of this decade, but really it'll be probably a 2-year project. So I mean, we're looking at probably 2025 is when we're getting more serious about putting something out to bid or getting into that final design portion. We'll also likely have a satellite facility at CSO 5. So likely the same technology, but that's something else that we'll be looking at and making sure that makes sense as well. We'll be coming back here later this year and looking at updating the model too, which will help us be able to I guess verify, do we have to have a satellite facility, or can we push enough flow to the treatment plant to do it all in one location? I think it's close, but it all kind of depends on once we get rid of CSO 6 completely and make some changes to CSO 5. We've done a lot of separation, and when we're able to cut that off, and so it doesn't go into the interceptor, we'll be able to update that model and really get a better, more concrete number for what kind of flows we see during wet weather. And so once we have that data, we'll be able to then size both the facility at the plant and decide whether we need one out in the collection system. A lot of communities built these high rate treatment facilities or some kind of treatment facilities in the beginning of their plan. I think at items encouraging, because I think they felt like, they were getting treatment right away. But our thought is we had so much work to do in the collection system that we would have either ended up with something way too big or way too small. And so we elected and were able to get approved to do this at the end of our plan. That way we can get these collection system projects done, all the separation done that we can, And then we reevaluate and really come up with solid numbers, and we're able to design, exactly what we need, and not either waste money by not building it big enough to begin with, or vice versa, and overbuild something that we don't really need. So.
Right. Well, I think what you also should be commended, because it's not as though we're starting completely from scratch, that we can build to what current standards, current technology allows us to do. And you're almost fitting a square peg in a round hole, trying to bring that technology to a very old facility. So
Yeah, and definitely we've seen technology change over the past 10 or 15 years, and we've also seen the price get better as as new technology comes out, or as older existing technology gets more experience. I mean, things have just gotten cheaper. So when it comes to the high rate treatment, I guess just more options that will help us in the long run be able to build it. So, and this is being split with stormwater. So, that's the proposed funding mechanism.
So basically, you're suggesting, because it's being high rate, it is including both stormwaters as well as that are going to infiltrate during those high peak flow times.
Correct. Yep. Just I mean, the main, I guess, factor is CSO treatment. So we're looking at using both funds.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Steens?
make a motion to enter into a engineering service agreement with Donahue and Associates. This is for the advanced planning of the wastewater treatment plant filtration project. The agreement's based on the terms within, with a cost not to exceed $47,100. That is based on the billing rates included in the agreement.
And there's a second. There's a motion and a second to enter into an agreement with Donahue Engineering Services for advanced planning for the wastewater treatment plant disc filtration project. Will have a not to exceed amount of $47,100 based upon the wages as set forth in the agreement, or I guess billing rates set forth in the agreement. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Jess, will you call the roll?
Amon,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye,
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
thank you. On the next item of business is a recommendation to enter into a contract for preliminary engineering related to wastewater treatment plant improvements projects.
Yes, Madam President and Board. This is work that we also anticipate here at the treatment plant in the next handful of years. The hope is that, as you know, we talked last time about we submitted to SRF for funding for our Short Creek Interceptor upgrades, basically 2 lift stations associated with that interceptor for our long-term control plan. This is work that will be coming up, but there'll be another round of funding available. We don't know that we'll be eligible if we get something this time and kind of max it out. There's a lot of moving parts to that, but because this work is going to be done regardless, we thought it made sense to proceed with some planning for it as well. It's not near as big as the Short Creek project, but includes a handful of things, including digester mixing, some abandoned tank demolition, that because of our new treatment plant project, our roughing towers will ultimately go away. Some work on our intermediate clarifiers. We'll essentially be abandoning some of those as well. And so we're looking at potentially repurposing those. Sludge storage has been a topic over the past several years. And the RDT has helped tremendously with our biosolids. But one thing that, depending on weather, that we could still lack is storage, or the flexibility to have the storage during periods of wet weather when maybe minerals can't apply. So we're looking at, instead of just demolishing our intermediate clarifiers, does it make sense for us to repurpose those, add a few pumps, and be able to use those as storage as well. And then some work replacing our existing ice RAS pumps. So again, Donahue's been working in the plant, and so we asked them for a proposal on this work. So the recommendation would be to approve a contract with Donahue and Associates. Again, this is hourly for a total not to exceed price of $45,700. And this would get us a document in PER format that we could submit for funding if and when it becomes available.
Thank you. So basically what you're saying is we're just getting everything in line. So if there are sort of immediate needs that we can get, or immediate availability of funds, that we're ready, have sort of almost close to being shovel-ready projects, or some projects that we know that need to be done.
Yeah, it gets us a step closer to being able to apply for that. And this is work we're going to do anyway.
Okay.
We may have not done this part for another year or two. So, but with that potential for funding, we thought it made sense to be ready for that if at all possible.
And it looks like it could also be individual smaller projects, depending upon what the funding needs might be or availability could be.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of this is we're evaluating the potential for a project. We may find that repurposing the intermediate clarifiers is not the cheapest option. Maybe building a new storage tank, like we have Big Blue. We call it Big Blue. It's a big steel tank. Maybe that's the cheaper option for expanding storage. So this will give us that information and let us be able to make a good decision moving forward with that too. So.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi.
recommendation to enter into contract for preliminary engineering related to the wastewater treatment plant improvements project as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to enter into a contract for engineering services with Donahue for 2021 preliminary engineering for wastewater treatment plant improvements as presented. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Jess, will you call the roll?
Amon,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye,
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
thank you. That takes us to miscellaneous. Does anyone have any other business to be brought before the board today? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn. Jess, will you call the roll?
Amon,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye,
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
thank you. We are adjourned, and I'll turn it over to Greg for a stormwater board meeting.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to call to order the July 27, 2021 Stormwater Management Board meeting. First on the agenda is the approval of minutes from July 13th of 2021.
President Steens, I'd like to present a motion for approval of minutes from July 13th, 2021 as presented.
And I will second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the July 13th, 2021 meeting as presented. Jessica, will you call the roll, please?
Amon,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye,
Greg,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion approved. Next on the agenda is the approval of invoices for check date run July 9th and 16th of 2021.
President Steens, I'd like to make a motion to approve invoices from check dates July 9th and 16th of 2021 totaling $8,409.65.
I second.
Motion and a second to approve invoices for check date run July 9th and 16th, 2021, totaling $8,409.65. Jessica, do you call the roll, please?
Amon,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Motion approved. Next on the agenda is the recommendation to enter a contract for the advanced planning and related to the wastewater treatment plant disc filtration project.
Yes, Mr. President and Board. This is what we went over in the sanitary board meeting for advanced planning for our high rate treatment facility and tertiary filter rehab. Because the funding is split, it's come to this board for approval as well. So it's my recommendation to award a contract with Donahue and Associates for this work for a total hourly for a total not to exceed $47,100.
Any questions? If not, could I have a motion, please?
President Steens, I'd like to present a motion for recommendation to enter into contract for advanced planning related to the wastewater treatment plant's disc filtration project as presented.
And I will second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the entering into a contract with Donahue and Associates for the advanced planning of the wastewater treatment plant disc filtration project for a cost not to exceed $47,100, of which 50% of the cost will be paid out of stormwater funds. Jessica, can you call the roll, please?
Amon,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Which approved. Next on the agenda is miscellaneous. Hearing none, could I have a motion to adjourn, please?
I so move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. Jessica, call the roll, please.
Amon,
Aye.
Sue,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
3 in favor, 0 opposed.
Adjourn.